north central Nebraska, we got a good population of whitetail and mule deer. I'd say right here, we're maybe a little heavier on the whitetails, maybe 60-40. Yeah, I've been on this ranch for about 10 years now. Moved back from college and realized that hunting was pretty good around here and thought that it's an opportunity I could take advantage of. And it just kind of went from there.
Well, we're hunting in north central Nebraska in the famous Sandhills. And lots of different whitetail and mule deer. And at first glance out here, you'd think there's nothing. It's just a sea of open grassland. But boy, I'll tell you what, all those little basins and stuff out there that hold moisture, have slough bottoms and little thickets of shrubs and stuff, and the deer, they thrive out here. We're hunting with Goose Creek Outfitters. I've been here several years in a row and really enjoy this open country hunting. And it's a great opportunity to get out and really practice your spot and stalk skills. Go out and try to find deer as you slowly work your way through the hills, come around the edges, glass the basins, glass the shrubs, watch the horizon. It's a very fulfilling way to hunt when you actually put everything together and make it happen from your own hunting skills. You know, when we headed out this morning, it was very windy. The wind was blowing at 15, 18 miles an hour. It was snowing a bit. It wasn't an ideal day for deer hunting, but we knew those deer were going to be tucked in where they're protected from the elements, and that's exactly where we went to look for them. First thing in the morning, we parked up on one of the very tallest hills that we could find, and we just glassed the horizon, the little basins that were up top, the swells in the bottom of the hills. We did see a couple deer. Most of them were on the move to better cover. And from there, when the sun came up, the wind was still blowing, we actually started walking the hills. And we kept the wind in our favor, and we'd edge our way around the steep country and the hills and look into the next valley, and there was brush, and we did see some nice mule bucks and does, and we were probably hunting about an hour into it, and we come around a corner and put up a real nice whitetail buck. He was probably bedded 60 yards from us, and you know what a whitetail's like, they're spring loaded. It took him seconds to get up and over the hill, but we actually had a pretty good look at him. Raced to the top of the hill, got down on the shooting sticks, and they came out of the bottom. There was a doe and a buck, and they were on the far hill, but they were about 400 yards, so I opted not to take a shot. We just sat back and watched, and you know, we're lucky we're hunting with Scott Fink from Goose Creek, and he knows the deer down here pretty well and what they do. And he said, the deer went that way. He said, let's watch back here on that ridge. And that's exactly what we did. We just sat there, and it was probably 10 minutes. Those deer had circled all the way back down so that they could get the wind back in their favor, and they came back over the ridge. We saw the doe come down and go through a draw. We saw the head of the buck on the ridge, and he just stood there watching. And I'm sure he was having a good look, trying to see where we were. And when he disappeared, we dropped back down and headed back over there. It probably took us about 15, 20 minutes to get there. And we slowly edged our way around, and that's when I got ready, you know. You know, the ethics about shooting at running deer are going to be debated. Although you go back 40, 50 years, and Jack O'Connor, who was one of the original gun writers in North America, wrote many columns and books about his favorite activity, walking through the hills, getting a deer out of his bed, and shooting it as it ran away.
Destination Whitetail is brought to you by Browning Trail Cameras, by Thompson Center, America's master gun maker, by Analogics, protect your herd with the power of science, by Sever Broadheads, straight through it, Alps Outdoors, exceed your expectations, and by Remington, America's oldest gun maker.
sandhill buck down. Oh, I'm shaking. Yeah, no kidding. All right, there he is. Yeah. 140 where he lays, 160 where I shot him on the second one. Right on. Let's go check him out. For sure. No kidding. Oh, that is a beautiful buck. Look, oh man, look at that.
Wow.
Sweet. Yeah, he obviously injured that antler when it was green, because look how it grew in that horseshoe. Yeah. Cool. Oh man, I am excited. That is a neat deer. Look at the length of that beast.
Yeah.
Look at that.
See, you broke some of it off.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Nebraska Blades of Glory. You know, big whitetails don't just happen. Every time I walk over a ridge, I get prepared like the deer is going to be right there below us. And in this case, he was. He was probably less than 60, 70 yards right below the hill. Scott was walking in front of me and actually heard him grunt. I saw his ears perk up. He looked real careful. And then next thing you know, here comes that buck straight out from below us. I'd already stopped. I checked my gun. I knew that my scope, I adjusted my parallax for a 100 to 150 yard shot. I increased my power to 8 power so it would be easy to find him, but not too much that he's, lose him in the scope. And bam, it happened. The other thing that we had ready, we talked about this for the last 3 days as we were hunting, shooting sticks. This wind here in the hills is howling. Laying down, you're bound to lay in a cactus or something, so the shooting sticks were instrumental in making this happen. These things don't just happen unless you're prepared for the shot at all times, and that anticipation is there. Man, you can lose some unique opportunities. You know, a lot of people ask me, how do you make a running shot? Well, it's interesting. When I was much younger, back in my teens, I bought my very first centerfire rifle. It was a 270 and it was a Remington 760. And what I remember most is going out in the winter and getting jackrabbits to kick out of a snowbank and get running, and I would try to hit them, and you'd be 3 feet behind it, 4 feet behind it. And it took a couple winters, but eventually when those rabbits ran out of their hides, they were in big trouble. And it equates into deer meat nowadays. When I'm shooting at a big deer that's on the run, I get my crosshairs on it, I lock on, I'm steady, I follow it. I don't, as soon as the crosshair hits it, I don't pull the trigger. I make sure that I sustain that lead. I'm going at the same speed as the animal, and I squeeze the trigger, just like you would at a standing deer. Woohoo! Oh, big sandhill buck down. The Remington Custom came through. Boy, that thing settled in on the wind. Oh, I am pumped. Mentally, I prepare myself for a running shot every time I come over a hill when I'm still hunting. And that happened here in Nebraska. So I always check my scope, make sure that I've got it dialed to a power where I'd be able to find my target quickly, to acquire the target, to get the crosshair on it, and keep it on it. If you have a scope that has parallax, I try to judge the distance. You know, you can say, okay, I'm gonna have a 100 to 150 yard shot, adjust the parallax so that your bullet path will be straight, and so is the focus within your scope. This morning when I shot a deer, I actually came around the corner and we saw it running. Immediately I got on my shooting sticks. I always try to put them forward so that you can adjust it. Got on it. I tucked my arms in because it was extremely windy. Acquire the target in my scope and follow it. And as that crosshair stays on the deer, as it continues to move, I squeeze the trigger and bang. It's not a snapshot, it's not a quick shot, it's not when the crosshair crosses the animal, it's when I have it locked on and I can follow it and continue to keep that crosshair on target and bang. It's very effective and it's very consistent. And I had no problems making the decision to shoot that running deer. I think it was a very ethical shot. It was a quick and humane kill. And if you follow some basic rules of shooting, anybody can do it.
Visit sportsmansguide.com today and see why they're the place to go to get where you want to be outdoors. Find the very best deals on the latest gear for hunting, shooting, camping, and everything else under the stars to fuel your passion. Shop sportsmansguide.com.
Success. In Nebraska, you shoot a deer, you have to check it in. It's part of the rules here, regulations, so we're here to meet with the state biologist and check in our deer. He'll age them, get all the information where they're shot on private land, public ground, age, sex, all the rest of it, and it just helps them manage their deer. So as part of being a deer hunter in Nebraska, make sure you know where the check-in stations are and do things properly. Today we're going to talk about rifle scope parallax and why it matters. A lot of people refer to the dial on the left side of a scope as the focus ring, but it's actually a lot more than focus, and if you pay attention to it, it is actually your dial to accuracy. And I'll show you real quick here. You have a trophy whitetail out in the field. Here's my stick drawing. Not really good. And here's a rifle. If you want to look at the trajectory, if it's out there 300 or 400 yards, when you aim at it, your crosshair is actually way up here, way above that deer. So in order to center it in your scope and still keep everything balanced for accuracy, the parallax is what brings that focus or adjustment onto the deer for a perfect shot. Now, the best way to check your parallax the first time, if you've never done this, put it in a vise or on a lead sled and get behind it, line it up on a telephone pole or a fence post further out, and adjust your parallax to where you think it's focused, and then move your head back and forth on the crosshair. When you do that, they're sitting still, you move your head back and forth. If that crosshair actually moves back and forth on that telephone pole, that's how much play you have in terms of where your bullet could strike your target. When you adjust the parallax to fine-tune it, your crosshair will all of a sudden quit moving and lock in on that post. And you'll know exactly what it is and what I'm talking about when you see it. So get behind it, move your head back and forth. As you adjust the parallax, all of a sudden it quits moving, it locks onto the target. That is when you can fire and make an accurate shot. If you don't adjust your parallax properly, you can have an awful lot of play in terms of where your bullet hits the target. Woohoo! I just stopped and changed the parallax on my scope and adjusted it, changed the setting, walked over the hill, and I bet you it wasn't 5 seconds and kaboom. Wow. You know, the ethics about shooting at running deer are going to be debated. Lots of people think it's unethical, although you go back 40, 50 years and Jack O'Connor, who was one of the original gun writers in North America, wrote many columns and books about his favorite activity, walking through the hills, getting a deer out of his bed and shooting it as it ran away. Today, a lot of people think if it's not standing broadside, you shouldn't shoot at it. I happen to disagree. I don't think shooting running deer is for everyone. If you've got lots of experience, you know your firearm properly, you know how to lead a target and sustain that lead and maintain it on the animal, be able to hold those crosshairs steady, you can make the shot every time. If in question, you just don't pull the trigger. It's that simple. So ethics, everyone has personal ethics. You know, our regulations are often made to try to create ethics for sportsmen, but ultimately it comes down to personal decisions. And if you know your firearm properly, you can shoot it well, you know how to sustain a lead. Shooting deer on the run is very ethical, and you can get a clean kill by doing it as well.
I don't know if you would have had another shot.
I don't think I would have.
He's
a whitetail.
Yeah, he was.
Destination Whitetail is brought to you by Antler King, bigger bucks, healthier deer. By Scent Killer Gold with Hunt Dry technology. Apply it, dry it, and go hunt. By 10-Point Crossbow Technologies. There is no substitute. Get armed and deadly with EASTON FMJ arrows. And by Matthews Archery. This is Deer Tech TV, the best in outdoor technology. Powered by Browning Trail Cameras.
Anytime I can take just one less piece of gear up into the tree stand with me, I consider that a good thing. And that's just what you get with the Oracle, Burris's new range-finding bow sight. No more rangefinder, no more ribbons marking the distance to your shooting lanes. With the Oracle, it automatically ranges your shot and then provides an aiming point for the distance and the angle to your target. Here's how it works. The Oracle Laser Range-Finding Bow Sight was designed for bow hunters who understand the importance of minimal movement and properly ranging targets when mere seconds and feet count. It eliminates aiming between pins by instantly calculating and displaying the exact aiming point for any distance and shot angle. A quick push of the button activates the built-in laser rangefinder. The range to the target is shown along with an illuminated pin for the exact drop and angle compensated aim point. The illuminated aiming pins are displayed on the vertical LED trajectory bar running through the entire midsection of the sight. The Oracle features a glassless sight window to prevent glare, fog, or debris from blocking the target. Locking micro adjustment knobs allow for quick and precise tuning while preventing accidental tampering in the field. For more information on the Oracle, Burris's range-finding bow sight, visit their website, burrisoptics.com.
This is Clint with Sever Broadheads. We're here in Illinois with Deer and Deer Hunting, and I want to talk about a new pack that I tried out while I was here that I was really impressed with. This is the Ultimate Whitetail Pack. This pack is the Contender X Pack from Alps, and I just want to show you why I like it so much. First of all, it stands still, and it'll stand up all on its own. It's not going to fall over. It's really stable. I was actually in a tree yesterday that didn't have a hook, and it had this cool little branch. I was able to just set it right there. Didn't have to strap it to the tree. It just sat there nice. But this is why I like it so much. You get in here, you got room for all your stuff, right? I've got a set of rattling sheds in here, room for a shirt, pull out all my rain gear. But it's set up like a little locker in here. So you can be set up in the tree. You have it all opened up. And I've got access to all my pockets, like, you know, I got my tags, some allergy pills because I've been sneezing like crazy up here, release aids, calls, you name it. There's pockets for everything you need. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's under 5 pounds, and it's my new favorite whitetail hunting pack. Alps Outdoors, Contender X.
All right, what you're looking at here is some good old American ingenuity. Made in the USA, the new Nova coolers. Sportsmen are gonna love these. A couple different things. It's got a sealing gas ring in here, a rubber ring. Keeps the cold in, keeps the warm out. When I used this summer, we could keep meat frozen for a week in extremely warm temperatures. I took one to the coast. We brought home salmon and halibut over 3 days, and there wasn't frost on the package when we got home. This particular model is big enough to handle 2 full deer boned out entirely. What you're going to notice is there's a lot more room inside of these compared to the average cooler because the walls are thinner. A lot of the new coolers keep things cold, but the walls are so thick that you don't have a lot of room inside. The lid has a lock on it so that it'll stay open on its, which means you're not always fighting. How many times you're trying to hold something out of the cooler and put something in and the lid keeps falling on you. Another great feature, it closes up, which is super easy. Other than latches and other things, rubberized feet to keep it from sliding, whether you put it in your boat, in your truck bed, in your camper, or anywhere else. It's going to stay put, especially when you fill it with meat. It's going to be like a missile in there if it starts moving around in your truck. They say it is grizzly proof. I don't know, I haven't used it out with the bears yet, but it does have areas for locks. If you're out camping or in deer camp, you want to actually lock it up, you can do that as well. So, I mean, it's not just another cooler. It's thought of a lot of new things. It's even got a temperature gauge inside here, the True Blue, When it turns blue, you know your temperature's always good, going to keep things frozen, going to be good. Aluminum handles with grips, even bottle openers on there. Comes in a variety of different sizes and colors, and for more information, you can go to CordovaCoolers.com.